we live? I think we're live. Yeah. Right.
Hi guys!
Hi you guys, and welcome back to our YouTube live videos. I'm Ariel.
And Zane, and I think we're starting to get a hold of this whole YouTube live thing.
Ooh. We can hear ourselves. All right.
See?
We're hearing an echo, so just 1 second. How's everyone's Friday going so far? It was crazy on Wednesday. I mean, really crazy. So I can't wait to talk about all of this. There's so much to talk about.
Okay, I think we're good. I think we're ready.
All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are live. We're still trying to get a hang of this whole YouTube live thing.
You were just about to say, I think we're getting the hang of this.
And I guess we're not.
There's always next Friday, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we go live every Friday, and if you haven't seen our other live videos, we talk about so many different things. We talk about politics and polls, and Cardi B and Candace Owens.
Eurovision kind of snuck in there a little bit
Even
last
Eurovision,
week.
yeah, literally everything. Everything under the sun.
So we are going to go live every Friday up until the election, where we're going to talk about all things politics. So that's what this YouTube live is all about. We have a lot to cover today. So let's get into it. But before we do, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell.
All that fun stuff.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
And and to all the people that joined us on Wednesday, thank you guys so much. It was actually really nice. We had quite a nice showing. It was really awesome, and really enjoyed it. Yeah, on Wednesday we talked about the GOP and Trump's treatment of women and what they've done from a historical context. And then this upcoming Wednesday we'll actually talk about what Trump and the GOP have actually done during the last 4 years. So we talked about the history of the GOP party and women, and Trump in business and what he's done for women in business. Yeah. And then we'll actually talk about policies.
Yeah. Oh, also too, we want to give a special shout out to David.
Oh yes, yeah.
David did a really great Holocaust video. So make sure to check that out. And
yeah, thank you for sending it to us.
David, make sure to send post the link in the comment section, not in the chat section.
So that people can see it, yeah, and then other people can go and check out your video.
And also too, we want to give a special shout out to Justin. Justin, we got your email. Love the drag photos. You and your husband do drag.
Yes, and funny thing, okay, first of all, your email was not long, so don't even worry about it.
We loved reading it.
Yeah, it was really cool. We loved the photos.
Congratulations on the house too, by the way.
Really good. Yeah, congratulations. And funny story, your city is actually where we go. It's your city is where our favorite farm is located, where we pick up all of our fruits and veggies. So it'd be cool to meet up one day and
we get tamales there too.
Farm. Oh yeah. Well, used to get tamales. Now that we're vegan, can't. But they have great tamales. So we'll let you know. Okay, so
we have a lot to get in today.
Yes.
We hope everybody brought their drinks and their snacks. We have our popcorn and our
drink.
So
Just have a sip.
It's lemonade. So we hope everyone else
so good.
has theirs as well.
There's a lot of strawberries in there too. Fresh strawberries. All right.
So let's see, who do we have here with us today? We have...
Hi, Amber.
Amber. Shabbat Shalom, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Oh, Justin.
Hey, Justin. I'm glad you joined us.
We have Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich. Links.
Links. Hi, Links.
Oh, yeah, how we made the lemonade. Well, that would be Zane's category.
So it's actually pretty simple. It's just frozen strawberries, and then we have the lemonade mix. What is the lemonade mix? What's the brand?
I think it's Adwala, but it's like concentrated lemonade.
And then we just mix it together, and yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
ready. What kind of snacks did you guys bring? Did you guys end up bringing snacks and drinks? We hope so, because there's a lot to cover today.
I know last time Annie brought cheese and wine, so thank you, Annie. This was actually from your idea, so thank you. Yeah, I love it. Yes, listen and fold laundry. Amber, I love how you're staying busy. All right. Well, we actually have a lot to cover. So obviously, a lot is happening. This morning we got some.
Lynn has a peach smoothie. Love it.
I love it.
Justin, I know exactly what you're going
Unpacking
through
boxes,
with
yeah.
unpacking boxes. It's
We have done
have-
that way too many times.
we have moved a lot,
unfortunately,
so yeah, you know what it's like.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, crazy news. We had the first debate. That was an experience within itself. I am dying to know what you guys think, because we obviously have a lot of opinions. We'll talk about them.
Yeah.
But I want to know what you guys think, because there's so... I mean, this was really cringeworthy for so many different reasons, and you know, a lot of people have different opinions about this.
Yeah, and,
So-
and of course, the major news coming out with Trump and Melania today. That is also another thing that we will cover and talk about today.
Stacy, don't be jealous of our lemonade. We'll it's really easily made. All you need is just frozen strawberries and just smash them up.
Yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, it was a show, that's for sure. And watching it, honestly, you guys, was so hard. I mean, we were just sitting on the sofa watching TV, just cringing the whole time. It was so uncomfortable. I think multiple times I had to pace around our living room as I listened to it. Zane was just like mortified at what was happening. And for many different reasons. You know, obviously Trump got a lot of flack for interrupting and doing what he did.
As well as
And-
Biden also interrupted and also got a lot of flack from the left as well.
Yeah, well, because the answers that he gave were just so weak. Very, very weak. So we'll talk about Biden, we'll talk about Trump. But I did want to talk about a couple of things, right? Which I thought were very, very interesting. So we have our debate card. And yeah, the first thing I noticed was Chris Wallace. I have been watching him for years. I'm sure a lot of people have. He is literally the best person as a debate moderator, I think, ever. He's the best moderator we've ever had. But something was going on that evening. He was so nervous. His hands were shaking. His voice was shaking. From the very beginning, when he said hello and good evening, you could just see the nerves are really, really getting to him. And so that was just really interesting, because I've watched him moderate debates before. You know, I've watched him many, many times. The guy's a pro. He doesn't get nervous, or at least he doesn't show his nervousness. He was really, really nervous. Yeah, he does. I mean, Chris Wallace hates Trump. I think everyone knows that. He's one of the biggest critics of Trump on Fox News. And again, that's fine. I don't think he liked Trump 4 years ago, but he wasn't nervous 4 years ago. This time he was genuinely nervous, like hands shaking, voice shaking. If you watch him, very unlike him. So I think he was, he says that Trump threw him off his game. I really don't think so. I think he was thrown off his game before it even started, honestly. So, yeah. And, actually, I completely agree, Tube Trans, because, he said his whole goal was to be a fly in the wall, right? He just wanted to ask the questions, and that's it. And I think it would have been really interesting to see how Biden would have handled Trump really going after him and interrupting him without Chris Wallace having to stand up for him. I kind of thought it was a shame, and I thought it was a missed opportunity, for Chris Wallace and Biden to really show what they're made of. And I think it really, their goal was to, in some ways, show Trump in a very negative light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, I think that's almost expected now with mainstream media. they all hate Trump. So I mean, any moderator that you get will be pro-Biden. So I mean that
Right, and
that
we've
is-
seen that.
That is what it is.
Yeah, it is what
And,
it is.
and I think Trump went in knowing that. Definitely went in knowing that, and I think that's why he came across so strong, like right away.
As hard as he did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we actually talk about all the details,
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about Chris Wallace, which we just did.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about Biden. I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm not judging him for it, none whatsoever. It's just really interesting. I really normally don't judge people by their outwardly appearance, but it was weird. Biden was so Botoxed up. I mean, he had, you know, obviously they all have a lot of makeup. That's understandable. Probably wear as much makeup as we do. But this is the first time where I've seen Biden just completely like Botox, everything. And, you know, I have family members who actually do Botox for a living. And, you know, they told me that he had massive amounts of Botox in his face, just to kind of make him seem younger, which again, given his age, makes perfect sense. He needs to seem younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just
A little fun fact there.
Yeah, a little fun fact. I just thought it was really
No,
weird.
no,
to
no
notice
judgment
it.
on Botox.
Yeah, no judgment. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting is the fact that this specific debate broke so many different records.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
Breaking
to see.
records again.
Again, part of our thing. So obviously it was the first debate that was moderated without an audience. It was really historic in many ways, you know, and obviously given the fact that we have, what are we going to call it? We're not going to call it a miss. What are we calling it from now on?
I'm not sure.
We will call the disease that is happening around us.
A Miss Rona. Oh no. We decided it's something else because we think Miss Rona is also being flagged.
Yeah, I
as
think
well.
I think it's being flagged as well, so we can't use that word.
If you
anymore.
guys have any other word to come up with the
What's happening around us right now, yeah, with the beer. So yeah, basically this is the first time that a debate is happening during a crisis like this.
Yeah.
Obviously it had a huge effect. And you know, I gotta say, to the people who are surprised that Biden did as well as he did, honestly, I'm really not surprised. I'm impressed.
Jenny says the C word.
Good call. Thank you. The C word.
GGV.
GV, I love it. Actually, that's kind of cheeky too, Rich. I like that, Chivi. So yeah, the Chivi virus. I'm not surprised that Biden did as well as he did. I think he did really well. He far exceeded expectations. It was very obvious that he practiced for a very, very long time. I don't know about you guys, but watching this debate, I got two impressions. Number one, he memorized everything, every answer. Literally, you know, and obviously he did because they've already given them the questions before the debate. Obviously he practiced, and he literally memorized every single answer. So it was very, very just reading through the text. That was the first thing that I noticed, which in some ways, you know, I know that Trump said he didn't prepare all too much for the debate. I kind of wish he kind of did a little bit so that he could have some memorized answers as well, because he's done so many things, and I wish he would just be able to list them all. But aside from the memorization that I saw with Biden, it honestly felt like someone was feeding him the answers. Like, it really did. I know, you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the wiretapping, and you know, there's something that you see under his sleeve, which has nothing to do with
this and that.
Yeah, all of these things have nothing to do with wiretapping. We've checked. We know literally nothing. But it just seemed like sometimes he was speaking and almost like waiting for, you know, an answer, almost just pausing and just waiting for someone to tell him. Again, I highly doubt that's the case. That was an impression I got from him answering.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious if anyone else felt that way. Yeah, and I think many of you were saying, yeah, I think Trump did rattle Biden a lot. You know, and I think, but to be fair, he rattled him a lot. But to be fair, Biden kept his composure like nobody's business. You know, with everything that was going on, it's very, very impressive. I, of course, you know, I'm very proud of Trump actually in many ways. And it's very interesting because a lot of people are criticizing him. A lot of the polls show that he's actually lost the debate. If you watch the CNBC poll and the CNN poll and the ABC poll and all of those mainstream polls, they all say that Trump lost the debate, Biden won, and they all have varying margins as well of how much they won. But the interesting thing is that most of these broadcasters have a very liberal viewership. So most of the people that are watching them skew liberal in the first place. So I think that's kind of interesting. But we do have a few polls that Trump actually that show that Trump actually won. One of them is the Cpac poll, which a lot of people make fun of all the polls that Trump is showing, saying that he won. But I think the Cpac is that's a pretty standard, pretty good poll. And of course, the second one is the Telemundo poll, Spanish-speaking poll, where Trump overwhelmingly won, and I think that's fantastic. With
Cpac, C-SPAN?
C-SPAN. Did I say Cpac?
Cpac, yeah.
Oh, C-SPAN. Thank you. Yeah. So C-SPAN, and of course Telemundo, where he won with a very large margin.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I watched it thinking, basically, Trump did what he had to do.
Yeah.
He's coming into this debate way behind in the polls.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that their internal polling is also showing him way behind, far behind. And Trump needed some kind of a gotcha moment. He needed to come out, guns blazing. He needed to fight. He needed to have a fighting spirit in him. Mm-hmm. And I think he did what he had to do. Because if he just stood there and looked, presidential as, people wanted him to look like, mm-hmm. I don't think it would have moved the needle very far. And honestly, it's just not in Trump's nature to look, quote unquote, presidential.
Yeah.
That's why so many people like him, is because he's not. He's a businessman. He's not presidential.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I am more of a kumbaya person. I am more of a, let's get all along, let's have a dialogue, let's have a conversation, we can talk about our issues on common ground, right? But that's not the way politics works. There's that debate, and then there is that, that conversation back and forth. And I think the way that Trump has been treated over the years, and the way that he has been, recently attacked on things, he came in with a clear goal.
Yeah.
And it was to throw Biden off of his game.
It's to throw Biden off of his game. It's also to show that Trump is a fighter. The reality is, I watch Biden. I don't know who, how can anyone think that Biden is actually going to stand up for the U.S. during really tough negotiations, right? If Biden cannot stand up to Trump during a debate, how is he going to stand up to Xi or Putin? And we know they don't, right? We already know they didn't. Because what China did during the Obama administration was abysmal. They hacked the Pentagon, right? The Pentagon servers were down for like 2 hours. And of course what happened with Russia during Obama's 8 years was crazy as well. From, I'll have more flexibility after the election, which is what Obama told Medvedev at the time, to, again, Syria, the Red Line, to the collection of the chemical weapons, to what happened in Georgia, with 2 separate territories in Georgia. Things are just going crazy, to what happened in Ukraine. This is, the Obama administration literally did nothing to stand up to China, to Russia or China, literally nothing. And I think Trump is actually fighting for us, and that's what he did during this debate. He showed a fighting spirit.
I think that's really what his base wanted to see, and I think he really delivered on that for the base.
Yeah. And I totally agree with some of you that say, I wish Trump was more presidential. I wish, a lot of people were disappointed. I could tell you, I have family members who are, immediate family member, let's put it this way, who's a strong, very strong supporter of Trump. And she was so incredibly disappointed by the debate. And she actually said, that's it. After this debate, he's lost. There's no hope. There's nothing. I, again, look at it differently. And the way that I look at it is Trump is coming to work. He's rolling up his sleeves. He's fighting. And he needed to show people that he's fighting. He also needs to show people that he's up for the job, because, some of you are saying, it felt like, you know, when Biden was speaking, it's like a grandpa lecturing you, like you're falling asleep. And he doesn't seem like he's up for the job. He just doesn't. And I think with liberals, it's fine because they're very happy about Kamala, but I think a lot of independents, you know, are voting for Biden, right, and not for Kamala. And
yeah, because there's definitely a divide within the Democratic Party with the Biden versus the AOC, the Bernie Sanders.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And which, you know, Lily, you brought up a point of how he was able to get him like, let me try to find your comment here.
Ooh, wow.
I can't find it. You guys are like really interacting a lot, which we absolutely love. But you said something along the lines of like, you know, Bernie Sanders. Oh, here it is. He got Biden to admit he isn't with Bernie and AOC.
But he kind of, I mean, I guess he did got him to admit it, but not really, right? Because it's very.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone watching it that is a Biden or AOC supporter would come out of this saying, you know, that he's not, right? Anyone who's up for Bernie Sanders, I think they view Biden as having to say the necessary things. For me, what was the most telling point, and we'll talk about
saying it's because he said he isn't backing the Green New Deal.
Yeah, but he did it before, right? And his New Deal, is not that much different from the Green New Deal.
It's just a different name, basically.
Right. I mean, there are a few differences, but very minor. And I personally don't even think that that's going to be the real deal he's going to be pushing when he becomes, you know, president. If he does, I think he's going to be pushing the Green New Deal. He just can't say that because of Iowa and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan and, you know, all these other states. So he's just really walking a fine line, trying to keep the, you know, majority that he has in polling. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it was fascinating, honestly. It was a train wreck, but I think it was fascinating. Mm-hmm. And, I mean...
I think it's also fascinating, too, because, I mean, the way things are going, that might be the only debate that we have. So, you know, that might be, historically, the only debate that we have. The only representation that Biden was able to represent, and the only representation that Trump was able to represent. And when it's all said and done, I think both sides were happy, and I think both sides were disappointed. So, you know, I think it comes out as a 50-50, if you will.
Possibly, yeah. I have a feeling that more Biden supporters, I think most Biden supporters are happy with Biden's performance. And I think a larger portion of Trump supporters are disappointed by Trump's performance. You know, again, but, you know, I remember 2016.
Even though Trump's polls are going up?
Yeah, so that's another thing that we need to talk about is some polling, because there's very different polls. Some of them are showing the post-election. Hi, David.
I don't know if you were in the beginning of this, but we were saying that...
you should post your video in the comments so that people can go and check out your Holocaust video.
Yeah, in the comment section, not in the live chat.
Yeah, because in the live chat it might get deleted. But yeah, actually, so this was really interesting. So this debate was the third most watched debate in history, right? The previous record was the first debate between Trump and Hillary Clinton. And of course that made sense because, you know, everyone wanted to see it. It was like the hottest show in town. And I think at this point people are more used to having Trump be on TV. But so it was the third most. The second most was actually Jimmy Carter versus Ronald Reagan. But what I thought was interesting is 13 million people actually watched, 73 million people, actually watched this debate, which was a 13% decrease from 4 years ago when Hillary debated Trump. And back then, 84 million people watched it. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I think with Carter and Reagan, it was about 80.6 million people. So, you know, it's pretty up there. Most people watched it, and a lot of people, I think, are gonna, you know, the very few undecideds that are left, I think this is really gonna help kind of shape their opinions one way or another. Mm-hmm. I don't know which way it's gonna go. It's gonna be really, really interesting to see.
And I don't know if you guys saw or actually just a quick poll here. Out of curiosity, who actually watched the debate from like beginning to end? Saw the whole entire debate, watch the whole entire thing? Just out of curiosity, I would love to know. Meanwhile, let's have another drink from our lemonade.
Yes. All right. Everyone grab your drinks.
Wow, it's actually really
It's
good.
so good, you guys. Oh
It's
my
really
God.
refreshing. There's no alcohol, just pure lemonade.
Just
and
lemonade.
strawberries.
But it is so refreshing and good. I love it.
Okay, so we have Lily. You watched the whole debate.
Awesome.
Jenny, you saw the whole debate. Ember, you saw the whole debate. Lynn, Tube Trans. Okay, great. So you guys saw it. So just I wanted to know that out of curiosity. So a lot of people who were undecided afterwards were kind of defeated, I think. You know, a lot of the interviews and stuff that we saw, they were very defeated. They didn't know. They wanted to give up politics altogether. And to be honest with you, you know, I don't know, you know, who have seen my walk away video, who've seen that, you know, my whole journey and how I got to where I am today. I totally relate. I totally understand it. There's just this feeling of hopelessness, if you will, of, you know, just seeing, you know, this circus, if you will. And you know, I understand that feeling and that emotion, but ultimately I think, you know, what you have to do is you have to take away is Trump has been in politics for almost 4 years now, right? He's been the president for 4 years. Biden has been in politics for 47 years. Look at what they've done. I think that's the most important thing, and I think this is something that we talk about all the time. The rhetoric, the talking, you know,
The tone of the conversation.
the promises, the emotions, you know, whatever, they really don't matter. What really matters at the end of the day is what are you doing? He has been in politics for 47 years. What has he done compared to Trump, who's been in office for 4 years? I mean, we've, on our podcast, I mean, we like go into it and talk about what he's done for every single minority group. And he has just done tremendous, tremendous things for every single minority group. And it really has made a huge difference. We're even now during, what word are we deciding to call this now? The C word, the word that should not be spoken.
The chivi.
Even during this, you know, his policies that he's put in place, the economy is still able to move forward, which I think is phenomenal.
Which is actually
and
phenomenal.
great.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Because,
Sorry, I'm jumping
Oh,
ahead.
no, I love it. Yeah, it's good because we're like, this is really important, right? Obviously, so many passions. This is so important.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm just, for me, watching this, it was fascinating. You know, this was really difficult to watch for so many reasons. And part of it is because as a Trump supporter, I really felt like just Biden was not pushed against the wall to answer questions. You know, even the questions that they were giving were so left-leaning. And we'll talk about that as well. So I just, you know, I don't know, very, very disappointing. Overall, I'm really excited to also see what the vice presidential debate is going to bring, because 4 years ago, 36 million people watched it. It's going to be really interesting to see how many people watch it now, especially since we found out about Trump's diagnosis, and see if that's going to make a difference. We'll see, right? But yeah, okay. So a few things that really, really bothered me was the fact that Biden completely avoided answering questions. And you guys talked about this. Oh, and by the way, Lynn, sorry, glass, home goods.
Home goods, yeah.
Yes. We got a whole bunch, and we never use them, and we finally have a good use for it. So I'm really, really happy about that. What is this? Okay, so, yeah, Biden is completely avoiding answering the question. Some of you talked about this. He wouldn't explain whether he's going to pack the Supreme Court or not. He would not give one name. Come on, Joe. Like, give us one name for the Supreme Court. Like, Democrats are screaming up and down, shouting from the rooftops about how this is such an important election, the election that's going to determine history, how Republicans should not nominate anyone to the Supreme Court. Well, if you don't want the Republicans to nominate anyone to the Supreme Court during an election year, then the public has a right to know who you would nominate if you win. How can we blindly vote for you, not knowing who you're going to put up there?
That was a really, really
right.
important
Is this going to be a liberal? Is this going to be a liberal hack like Sotomayor or Helena Kagan, or is this going to be someone more central like Mary Garland? Right. Like those are different questions.
I honestly think it was a very missed opportunity for him. I think it was a missed opportunity for Biden to actually take that. But of course, looking at it, I think it's very strategic of him not to say anything because, then it depends on where things go that they can decide.
I think, it's funny because I actually did not view this as a strategic thing. I was smiling about Lynn's comment regarding having one of those. They're really fun now that we're using them. But yeah,
it's like a fishbowl on a stand.
Yes. Actually, I think we had a fish in this at some point, or was it a different one?
It was a different one.
Okay. We had a similar kind of. But I actually did not think it was a missed opportunity for Biden. I think it was very strategic and very smart not to answer, because I think his answer would not be very popular with a multiple host of people. And so, but this is where we are. And whereas Trump goes full force, answers every question, does not avoid it, gives even sometimes too much information, but the public knows what they're voting for. How can we know what Joe Biden is voting for? He was for so many things before he was against it. He supported so many things before he was against them. He was against so many things that now he supports. How do we know who you're going to put in the Supreme Court? Is this going to be a constitutionalist? Is this going to be someone, that's an activist, again, like Helena or Sotomayor? Or is this going to be someone more centrist, like Garland? We have a right to know, and the public has a right to know. And what kills me is that it seems like no one cares besides Republicans or conservatives. How is it that moderates, how is it that Democrats, liberals, how are you not asking him this question? Are you going to pack the court? If Trump nominates this person and this person actually makes it to the Supreme Court, are you going to pack the court? Yes or no? And if the nomination does not go forward, who are you going to nominate? People have the right to know.
Yeah.
So that just completely drove me nuts. I just could not understand.
Just name one.
Yeah, just
I remember you were just like, one, just name one.
I was literally screaming at the TV, and I'm like, come on, Joe, just one name. Give us one name. Anyone. Literally. Just your cat would do. I want to know someone. So that I think really, really bothered me. The other thing that really bothered me too is when they were talking about Breonna Taylor and they were talking about the justice, and Biden said, Biden basically said, if there's justice in America, then, blah, 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 this would not happen, or there's justice in America. I don't remember exactly the wording, but it was something along the lines of, the cops would be held accountable. And the thing is, the cops were held accountable. And what bothers me about this is that they're constantly talking about Trump stoking the violence, if you will.
Yeah.
That's not the case. That's not the case, because there's so many facts that came out as a result of this trial that showcase that the cops did, in fact, act accordingly to the way that they were supposed to act. And that's why they were not charged. And the one officer that, was a little maybe too trigger happy, he was charged, just not with a murder count, not with a felony. But that's, those are facts that we need to deal with. We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
People say it was a no warrant. Yes, there was a warrant. People said that they didn't announce themselves. They did announce themselves. This idea that the cops shoot first, ask questions later. No, they showed up at an apartment where the boyfriend was a drug dealer. He shot the cops, actually shot them in the foot, actually shot an officer in the foot, and they returned fire. And unfortunately, she was standing next to him, and she got killed. It's a tragedy, yes, but we need to be realistic about what happened. Right? And now we're finding out that she was actually in cahoots with her boyfriend's drug enterprise and business and all these things, which, we were told is, not the case. So there's so much information and misinformation out there that it's hard to know who to believe. But the Democrats are literally stoking this violence, and they're saying, oh, look what Trump did. Can you look at that? Look at all the people, outside. What do you expect, Joe, when you call Antifa an idea. I mean, that was outrageous. It's designated as a terrorist organization, and he calls it just an idea. So all these riots in Portland, that was an idea as well.
Yeah.
People are dying. That's an idea. Cops are being
Their
shot. That's an
houses,
idea.
Their houses are being burnt down.
Yeah.
Properties being destroyed. Just an idea. It's just all just an idea.
What world do we live in where this is okay?
Yeah.
And where the thing that bothers it's there's no pushback. There's no pushback against it. Trump answers, there's immediate pushback. Not so much in the last debate, but in general, there's always pushback when he's interviewed, you know, in front of the press, anything. There's always pushback. Biden answers, there's literally nothing. He speaks from a teleprompter, no problem. I mean,
No.
it's just really crazy. No one's asking, hey, Joe, where are you? You know, Chivi or not, you know, the C word or not, you're still, you know, you can have interviews via Zoom. Where are you?
Yeah.
So, and I think they realized that with Hillary Clinton, the more she was out, the less people liked her. So they don't want to make the same mistakes because they know that he's very unlikable, actually. He's very unlikable.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're trying to portray this, you know, grandfatherly figure of we're fighting for the soul of the nation.
Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe, right? Yeah, Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to portray him as this, like, great guy. And if he's going to be out there, people are going to realize that's not great Uncle Joe. That's senile Uncle Joe. And if he doesn't have memorized questions, senility is going to show. And it's just really sad. I mean, come on. I just don't understand, you know, Democrats, like, you deserve better, too. Like, you need to ask these questions.
Yeah.
So, that really bothered me
I
a
think
lot.
we need another drink.
Yeah, actually, I need to cool off. Agreed. All right.
Okay.
So by today's live, we should finish this whole
I
thing.
don't know about that. We also have popcorn as well, which we haven't had any. Do you want some?
Yes, please. I have lipstick, so I have to eat very carefully.
Do I still have lipstick on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Check. Yeah. Okay. So that was.
Yeah, Rich, you're right. Camila is even less likable.
She is, which is why when she announced her presidency, 20,000 people showed up and cheered for her. And then, as she spoke more and more during the debates, you saw her popularity ratings just go like nosediving. And I think picking her was a very strategic move by Biden, strictly because of the color of her skin, not because of anything she's accomplished or done. It's just the color of her skin because he's bleeding black voters. He knows it. And so that was, you know, smart, but again, very sad because I think this woman would be very dangerous in the White House. She's not better in any way than Biden, even though, you know, a lot of people are happy. And what I hear from my liberal friends is it's okay. Let's just get Joe elected. Camila will run things.
Yeah.
You know, she'll actually do the things.
Well, and also too, I mean, basically the left have come to a point where they're like anybody but the orange man. You know,
anyone but.
Literally anyone.
Put a monkey in.
Anyone but the orange man. I think it's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
Throw that card.
Throw that. I love it. Yeah, it's my new obsession. I think literally I'm just gonna sit throughout the week, just like randomly, whoop, just have cards everywhere. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is when they were talking about jobs, right? And that was something that really bothered me as well. This idea that Obama created 3 million more jobs in his last three. Obama created more jobs in his last 3 years. In his last 3 years than Trump did in his first 3 years. That really bothered me as a fact because even though it is, I guess, factual, it's highly misrepresentative and it's very unfair to showcase it in such a way because number one, the jobs. Well, actually, let me find that because the jobs that were created are completely different from the jobs that that Trump created. But the other thing is that people are not taking into account when the Obama-Biden administration created all of these jobs, there were a lot more people out of work that were looking for work. And not once throughout the entire 8 years of the Biden-Obama presidency did they actually have more job openings than they did people seeking for work. Whereas in Trump's economy, they did. in the just even in the last year, they had, even in 2019, literally up until the Chivi, they had more job openings than they did have job seekers. That makes a really big difference. The other thing that people don't realize is that the people who actually got a job during the Obama years are people who were looking for work, right? People who lost a job and were looking for work. Now, the difference is that the people who got a job under Trump are people who were out of the workforce. Those are people who literally gave up looking for a job because they couldn't find one. And now they did.
Oh, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Wow, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your moving day, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye. Thank you. Oh, that was really, really nice. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is just outrageous on so many levels. The other thing that I think is really, really telling as well, I'm trying to find where it all is.
Well, actually, to go along with what you were just saying, I thought it was kind of interesting because Biden was blaming Trump for, not only for, you know, Miss Rona or whatever we want to call it, but also blaming him for the economy, blaming him that the economy has gone down because of it, which I just think is absolutely crazy because it's like, hello, I mean, look at the whole entire world. I mean, it's not just the U.S. that's been affected by it, the whole entire world has been affected by it. And so it's just, I think it's very interesting that the left and, you know, Biden during the debate was blaming him for it.
Yeah, do you guys remember, so, I mean, I have it here, it says, his shutdown. Do you guys remember when, at the very beginning, when Trump started shutting down, Biden and Democrats criticized him. They actually criticized him and said, this is going to be his shutdown. It's going to be on his watch. This is going to be known as a Trump shutdown, of how it's killing our economy, you know, everything else that they've said. And not, I mean, you know, now they're calling for these shutdowns as Trump is opening. So this is just a completely fabricated idea. You know, unfortunately, the economy is affected negatively literally around the world, every single country. It doesn't matter if you're China or Russia or the US, any country in Europe, every single country in Africa is suffering, all the countries in Latin America are suffering.
Yeah.
So this is not an American problem, this is a global problem. And how I love how he's saying, you know, that Trump is responsible for the slow economy. The economy is actually rebounding much faster than anyone has anticipated, and the U.S. economy is doing much better than any other economy comparatively, or almost any other economy comparatively around the world, dealing with Chivi. So again, this, you know, it's just lies over lies over lies, and I think it's getting it's getting old. And you know, this blame game, I don't blame Trump for saying, you know, China's responsible for this, China's responsible for this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's getting all the blame, but the reality is, you know, could he have done things differently? Of course he could, absolutely. Are the numbers in the US extremely high? Of course they are, absolutely. But where are most of the numbers coming from? Where did most of the people that died come from? They came from from New York State. They come from California. What did those states do? When someone had the C word, they were sent to an elderly facility where more people, and they had to be in lockdowns in elderly facilities, where those people are more susceptible to actually getting Chivi. And as a result, they did, and that's why many people died. That was Andrew Cuomo's, you know, mistake. And, you know, he was good about it. He did say, look, mistakes were made, we've learned, we've grown, we've evolved, you know, we don't do that anymore. And as soon as they stopped, the death numbers slowed down, and they stopped as well. But again, these deaths came from the decisions that Democratic governors made, and now they're blaming Trump for it. It's just so unfair, and it's such a misrepresentation of what actually happened as a result.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think one of the best examples is Israel with this whole you know, situation. Is because Israel was one of the first countries to react to it, one of the first countries to take steps in it. And as a result, they were the pioneers and the leaders in what to do with it.
Correct. Actually, I think Israel was the first country to announce a shutdown, and at the time, Israel was literally the safest country when it came to the Chibi. Officially, it was the safest country.
Yeah.
And then when they opened their lockdowns, thinking, things are better finally,
Yeah.
now they're one of the worst.
Yeah.
So, this is something that the whole world is grappling with and dealing with. And I think
Yeah.
the main reasons why we have so many people that unfortunately passed away is not because Trump made mistakes, even though he did. He really, really did, just like everyone else, just like Governor Cuomo did. And just like Governor Cuomo, Trump also evolved and he also learned. But, the deaths came as a result of the practices, in my opinion, of these Democratic governors that caused a lot of unnecessary death. And I think if that didn't happen, we would probably have a much smaller number of casualties. So that was extremely sad for me.
Yeah, because I mean, beyond the actual, situation. We have people who are suicidal now, who are dealing with depression, who are alcoholics, who are dealing with addictions now, and it has created a whole host of new issues.
I mean, how many people are committing suicide? I think the Army I read has an increase of something like 40% in suicides. I mean, some insane number. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
People who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
All the drugs, suicides, depression.
Yeah.
This is really getting to people.
I mean, we've seen the direct result of it here in Northern California.
Definitely.
I mean, the amount of homeless people. I mean, we've always had a terrible homeless population here, a large amount. But since then it's increased even more.
Since the shutdown, the homeless population here has, I don't know what the official numbers are,
quadrupled
but
visually.
It feels like a minimum quadrupled.
Yeah, just driving around, the underpasses and stuff. And then also too, on top of that, the amount of people who are becoming addicted to drugs, we've also seen a huge amount of people, reacting as well, being addicted because they have nothing to live for anymore. They don't have jobs. They don't have anything to do. And
And do you guys remember when he called Trump a racist for closing the borders with China? Do you guys remember? Biden said he's a racist for doing it, even though the virus came from China. Now, whether or not China is responsible for this, a lot could be debated over it. Obviously, Trump thinks so. I tend to agree. But, a lot of people can argue against it. I'm open to debate. But the fact is that it did come from there. And when Trump refused entry, for Chinese people, specifically from that region as well, from the Wuhan region, Biden called him a racist. He literally called him a racist. When Europe had a crazy outbreak and Trump closed the borders for Europeans traveling to the U.S., Biden called it the biggest mistake Trump has made. Mm-hmm. And now, now they're blaming Trump. I mean, memories are really short. I don't know. Do people not remember?
Honestly, when it comes down to it, it's he's damned if he does, and
he's damned if he doesn't. Yeah.
Right? There's literally nothing he can do that they will be happy with.
Literally nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
At this point, he just has to do what.
The other thing that really bothers me too is they're talking about how as a result of the big C word, as a result of this, all these poor people are really, really suffering. The reality is it's true, they are. But living here in California, I could tell you this: California has an extremely high minimum wage. I think one of the highest in the nation. And despite having such a high minimum wage, when we just recently had to buy a car for my mother, and when we went to buy a car, the salesperson told us that car sales are through the roof because in so many cases the unemployment that people are getting is actually more than what they were making when they were working.
Yeah.
So here, at least in California, so I don't know what it's like in other states.
Yeah.
But I know in California, most people don't want to go to work.
And the people who are working, who do have the minimum wage jobs, you can just tell they're
so resentful.
Such a resentment everywhere that we go. That we've gone out, in the public. There's a hatred of I'm working and
all these other people are not. Yeah.
Are making more money than
all the essential workers in fast food, grocery stores. Yeah. All of those, places, you could tell, literally, there's a very strong resentment. Yeah. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to know what it's like in your guys' neck of the woods.
Definitely.
Because people here are very happily not working.
Yeah.
Very, very happily. And so, and I think the people who have become homeless, I think a lot of that has to do with drugs and other abuses that happened as a result of the shutdown that's happening now. And so, you know, if people are suffering economically, at least from the down economy, again, who's responsible for this lower economy and this shutdowns? Democratic governors. So I just don't understand why there wasn't any pushback. You know, when he says these things, why didn't Chris Wallace push back against it and say, hey, what about this? That, you know, those are just things that I was literally, I mean, we were watching and like between pacing, we were just writing notes, writing. There was just so many things. You know, it was hard. It was really hard. Same situation with unemployment here in Indiana. I think that's in a lot of places, Elizabeth. I think that's in a very, I think that's in a lot of places. So that really kind of bothered me because I think the poor in California, at least, are doing really well, you know, comparatively. So yeah. The other thing that really bothered me too is Biden said that Trump is the first president to leave with fewer jobs than when he began his presidency, which I think is outrageous to say, because I certainly don't think that's true. You know, I definitely, and I think there's other presidents, including possibly George Bush, who very possibly also left with less jobs than when he came in. But even so, let's say that is the case. That's such a misrepresentation of what was actually happening just because of, again, everything that we just talked about. That was a really unfair comment to say, because the reality is that he also created a record number of jobs. And what he's been able to do is he's been actually able to get people out of the fold. People who just gave up are not even looking for jobs anymore. He's been able to get them into working right before the pandemic started.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you for joining us. We actually haven't gotten into that yet. We will get into that soon. We have a lot to talk about. We hope you have your snacks and your
snacks and your drinks ready.
Because we have a lot to get into today.
Actually, should we take a drink?
Yeah, it's time to.
It's time for a drink, guys.
This is our.
We need a little cool down.
This is our pink lemonade, no alcohol, just some lemonade, something refreshing.
It is so good.
I keep getting strawberries.
I keep drinking. I could drink this all day.
We're so nervous of actually spilling over.
All right. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. The other thing that he blamed him is
fishbowl lemonade.
I love it.
Oh, thank you,
God!
Tube
Thank you, Tube Trans. Oh, cheers! Thank you. Thank you for coming every week. We really appreciate it. This is really fun. I really enjoy it. Thank you, guys. Okay, so just a couple more things that I think we need to talk. Okay, do you guys remember? Let's see. There's literally so much. Okay, so one of the things that he talked about was the fact that violence is up under the Trump administration, which again, I think is just a joke because when Trump came into office, up until very recently when all the riots started, violence was actually down by a lot. In some places, historic numbers. Violence was down. And that's because he believes in law and order. And what's interesting is that the black community themselves, and this is I think why his numbers are going up, is they support it because they're seeing it in their own communities. They're seeing in their own communities how violence and violence and drugs were very high under previous presidents, especially under Obama, because the numbers went up by a lot, and then they started going down under Trump. And again, in some places, historic levels, it went down. And, so using these riots as an excuse to say that Trump is stoking violence when literally Biden calls Antifa an idea, right? When BLM is literally saying that they're Marxist anarchists on their website and just removed it just a couple of days ago, and everyone and their mother supports BLM, right? And openly supports them. And if you say anything against them, that's it. You're done. I mean, those are the people who are stoking the violence, right? The people who are saying, if you see, a Trump supporter, you get in their face. If they're at a restaurant, you don't let them eat. that was Maxine Waters. That's a Democratic woman from California.
Yeah, I mean, we did a video. We talked about this before, but we did a video on Antifa, and we showed different clips of Candace Owens being attacked. We also showed clips of Maxine Waters saying, "Go out, if you see them, attack them." Unfortunately, we had to take down that video from YouTube because can't speak the truth, I guess.
Yeah, it's just really a shame. And again, we really
Tube Trans says manufactured. Yes, definitely manufactured.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, definitely. But that's the thing. A lot of this is manufactured, right? And that's why I also feel like it's a real shame, right? We're talking about the debate. I think one of the things that I was very sad about and kind of upset was the fact that Trump really he gets his energy from people. He gets his energy from crowds. He gets really animated and excited, and they feed him this energy, and he goes for it. And I think it's very unfortunate that we're now having these debates without a crowd, because it has an effect, I think, on him. And also, I think if you watch the debates 4 years ago, despite everything you saw in the liberal media, poll numbers and everything else, you could tell just from the audience sitting at those debates that they supported Trump more than Hillary. You could see, because every time he spoke, they cheered, they went crazy, and the moderators literally could not keep them quiet as many times as they asked. Yeah. And I think that was very, very telling. And I think it's very possible now that we're being pushed this narrative that Biden is practically a shoo-in. And I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's the case, but that might not be the case. And I think they don't want people at home to realize that the actual spirit of American people is actually more so with Trump than with Biden.
Yeah.
So that was something that I noticed that I thought was kind of really sad. As well, just from that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I love when they ask them to, if he's gonna accept, if he loses, will he concede? This is something that I love because obviously everyone knows that Hillary Clinton told Biden not to concede.
Yeah.
Right? But then also the Democrats haven't conceded in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Literally.
They still haven't.
From the moment he won, they called him illegitimate. They called him an illegitimate president. How many, pussy riots did we have with people wearing, their pussy hats and then saying, "Not my president, not my president," all over the country, right? And these are things that, they got from their leaders. It's not just something that randomly, people picked up. So, for them to now expect for him to, to accept a defeat, why? Why would he? Especially when he sees all this, voter fraud that's going on, where people are saying it's not happening. It's also ridiculous because it is happening. There's so many instances of ballots being lost and thrown away, and he talked about this in the debate. And what I think is fascinating too, I haven't seen any fact checkers talking about this, right?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of articles talking about how, he's perpetuating this myth about voter fraud, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But usually, when that's the case, there's a lot of fact checkers. Mm-hmm. The reality is that they find all of these ballots, right, from Minnesota to Pennsylvania and all of these swing states, especially in, this is a constant. And do we remember the woman that was actually, I think she was arrested in Florida. I don't remember. She was an election poll official. And she found to have she had, I think, hundreds or thousands of ballots that were for Trump, and then switched the names to Hillary Clinton. And she was caught. She was admitted. And I think she was charged. I don't remember how it ended. So this happened literally in the last election.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at an election where, a lot of the states, this is going to be the very first time ever for them doing mail-in voting. They're not even prepared with all of this. Who's going to watch all of this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to expect him to concede is, I think, outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think about all of this? Because this is really, really crazy. Yeah, and a lot of you are saying, Biden ignored the violence and the looting. It's true, Christopher. He did, except when the opinion polls started shifting. Right, when people supported the rioters, he was for them. When people are against it, he's coming out against the rioters. Mm-hmm. But is he actually doing anything? Is he calling people to stop? No. Is he calling people to not go out in the streets? No. Why is it dangerous for me to stand, closer than 6 feet apart with someone at a grocery store, but at a riot, it's okay?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And I don't care if they're wearing a face mask. I'm also wearing a face mask when I go to Target, but I'm still expected to stay 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't the rioters doing the same?
Yeah.
And if they're not, because they're rioting, condemn it.
Or why are the rioters able to gather together, but people can't go to church and gather together and pray?
Exactly. So just, outrageous double standards that I think a lot of us probably feel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I agree, Christopher. It's probably because he literally has no idea what the hell he's talking about. He's being fed what to say. And so, wherever the wind blows, there Joe goes. That's kind of how it is. So, yeah. The other thing that they talked about too, when regarding the economy, is how they created all these good-paying jobs, and it was so great under Obama, Biden administration, which is a complete myth. That's really that never happened. All of these green jobs that they created, first of all, they created a lot less than what people expected. Second of all, the green jobs that they created they pay so much less than coal jobs, mining jobs, oil jobs. And again, you could argue that it doesn't matter, and we need to move towards these renewable energy sources, and that's fine. I can accept that argument. But to say that these are good-paying jobs, in most cases, all of these green jobs that they're talking about pay $15 an hour. In some states, that's the minimum wage. In other states, it's just about the minimum wage. That's not a high-paying job for someone who is working, let's say, in the oil fields making $40, $50 an hour, or someone working at a coal mine making $35, $40 an hour. $15 an hour is not going to cut it. And so to tell people, hey, we're giving you high-paying jobs, it's a joke. And that's why Pennsylvania and Michigan voted Trump, because they realized it. I really hope they're going to do the same this time. I really, really do. Because I think a lot of people realized, hey, we lost our jobs. And these high-paying jobs that we were promised are not high-paying jobs at all. So, that's just absolutely a joke. A real joke. Okay, let's see. Also, regarding the economy, Biden said that Trump passed the tax cut for the rich. And only the rich are the ones that are benefiting from it.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
He should be doing stand-up instead of doing this. I mean, literally, he should be doing stand-up. Like, who in their right mind? Did rich people benefit? Of course they did. Everyone benefited it.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they? And why do people care so much about rich people making money? As long as poor people are making money as well, I don't mind rich people making money. There's no such thing as making too much money. And under Trump, the income inequality has actually shrunk.
Yeah.
Again, maybe not now due to Chivi, right? But before that, the income inequality actually shrunk for the first time in like 50 years. And it actually went, went higher under Obama. And regarding, the good-paying wage jobs and all of the things that Biden was saying, under Obama, people actually lost money when you count inflation. Literally, your dollar that you made, you actually were making less money at the end of his administration than you did at the beginning of his administration. Mm-hmm. Where was Biden during all of that? So to say that people were making money, it's a joke. Whereas with Trump, the wage growth actually exceeded 3% back in August of 2018, and it lasted all the way. That was the first time in over a decade where wage growth exceeded 3%. Year over year, not month over month, but year over year, it exceeded 3% for the first time in over a decade, and it remained that way for over a year until December 2019, right before the Chivi. So, all of these things it's just complete misstatements, and no one's asking questions. Why do I'm a drag queen, for crying out loud. I know this. I'm sure Chris Wallace knows this, right? I'm sure the reporters at CNN and NBC, they all know this. So why are people letting him get away with this? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. And the idea that the tax cuts were only for the rich, what, did people not get $1,000 back?
Yeah.
Is the child tax credit not $2,000?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, what are you talking about? What about like so many benefits that people receive from these tax cuts, and a lot of people don't even realize they receive these benefits. They
Yeah.
just think, oh sweet, I'm getting more money this year. Can't be because of Trump,
No,
because
yeah, of course
media
not.
and the Democrats told me it's not him, it's just a
Yeah.
fluke. I don't know why, but I'm making more money this year.
Just mysteriously, right?
Mysteriously, magic.
Magic.
So, it's just a joke. And the idea that, only the rich made money, if that was the case, more people would donate to Trump's campaign than to Biden's campaign
There you go.
from Wall Street. If that was the
Yeah.
case, more corporations would give money to Trump than they would for Biden. But there's a
Yeah.
reason why corporations gave money to Clinton over Trump, and there's a reason why they're giving money to Biden over Trump
Yeah.
as well. Obviously, they're expecting something in return.
Yeah,
It's
payback.
not coming out of nowhere.
Yep.
It's right. I mean, like, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And it was so frustrating to watch. And what else was extremely frustrating for me is watching all of the analysis on TV afterwards. People talking about the tone. The tone was so sad. Frank Luntz, who was sitting at the debate, he was interviewed by Bloomberg TV. Now, Bloomberg TV, super, obvious where they stand with all of this. But he said that people cried in the audience. People were in shock. This was the worst debate he's ever seen.
Yeah.
This is the guy that polls undecided voters on a regular basis. He used to poll in Fox News. I think now he polls for Bloomberg. I'm not sure. But, so he is coming here and literally said that Biden should not even do the other debates because of the tone of this debate.
Because people are getting depressed.
Because people are getting depressed.
Yes. They
Facts
cannot
are
have
depressing people. That's really sad.
They cannot have another debate because
Yeah.
people are getting depressed from it.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous to think about it. That someone who's talking to undecided voters that wants to find out how they're voting is talking about the tone of the debate as opposed to the actual contents of what people are talking about. I don't care about the tone.
Well, I mean, as a society, we have really switched towards emotions and feelings from fact. We moved away
Yes.
from fact and logic, and now it's all about emotions and feelings. How do you feel? What you feel and your emotions matter more than the actual facts.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Yes, and actually,
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yay.
And thank you for joining us at our podcast.
yes, thank you. I hope you got my answer regarding Jews and why they're voting liberal. So hopefully you got it. If not, let me know and I'll respond again. But yeah, I think you're totally right. And actually, Zane said something really fascinating during the debate, because Zane said, I don't understand why people are expecting my president to be, my guru. Like,
Yeah.
my
he's
president,
not your guru. He's not your spiritual guide. He's not your,
He's not your rabbi. He's not your kumbaya. He's not your
yoga
friend.
instructor.
Yeah. He's not your motivator.
Yeah, and he's not a politician. He's not there to give you all of the nice feelings by saying all of the nice things. We already had a president like that, and we got nowhere.
Yeah. You know what makes me feel nice? Having money in my pocket. You know what doesn't make me feel nice? When people say nice things, but I don't have money in my pocket.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me feel nice.
Yeah.
So
money in my pocket, freedom of speech,
absolutely.
upholding the Constitution. I mean, that's what is the most important.
Absolutely. Hi, JJ. What you seen at the bar was $1.85 in 2009. You had to be quasi-lady of the night to make money. You know what? So, Service Doc JJ, I actually worked in New York back in 2002, 2003 as a waiter. And I remember, I think I was getting like literally, you're right, like I think I was getting $2.88 or $1.88. So just around what you're saying, because most of the money that I would get was from tips. So that's a very interesting point if you're a waiter. But still I made pretty decent money.
Yeah.
But here in California, you get minimum wage and tips. So in some states you're getting like $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Plus the tips you make.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's really not bad. So. Yeah, just so many outrageous things,
Yeah.
so many outrageous things, and this idea that, what I want to know is so many corporations and people are giving money to Biden, so many people from Wall Street, what are they expecting in return?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Are they just doing it out of the goodness of their heart?
Yeah,
I don't think
what's the
so.
payback?
Because if Trump is good for Wall Street, why are they giving money to Biden? That's a question that I would love someone to ask him. I think that would be a really, really great question.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, which I think is just stupid. I mean, really stupid. Biden talked about raising corporate taxes back to 28%. They're currently 21% for corporate taxes. Even at 21%, we're still one of the highest countries in the world in terms of corporate taxes. Now, as a result of Trump lowering these taxes from 28 to 21, we saw just a horde of companies who came to the U.S. And opened up business here because they're paying lower taxes, because they wanted to do business in the U.S., but they were not willing to pay as much as they were. Now, some places like Ireland, where I think their tax rate is like 15%, or I think even 11%, I don't remember exactly what. You know, a lot of the American companies are actually moving to Ireland to do business there, because now we're a global economy, we're a global society, so people are literally able to work out of anywhere and still sell and provide their products and services. So why should they be here? Because America has the brightest minds? That's not true. We unfortunately don't. Our education is really lacking. You know, there's certain pockets in the American society where people are very educated. You know, Bay Area is one of them. Washington D.C. is another. You know, there's a lot of educated people in Texas and a lot of other states, but those are pockets, and that's why these companies are there. But today, you're finding people just as educated and in many cases more motivated than American workers and more productive, because a lot of studies show that American workers are some of the least productive workers. So why would they stay here?
Hi,
if
Cher.
we raise their
You're able
taxes?
to join us. Sorry.
Hi, Cher. Oh, so glad you were able to join us. You know what? We're going to drink to you guys, to you and Ed, for joining us. It's time to have a drink.
Yes, we another. This is our pink lemonade
with fresh strawberries or frozen strawberries. It is so good. We actually have really large straws too, but we thought it'd be easier to drink from smaller straws.
And we also have some popcorn, which we haven't really been eating much of it.
No, too much talking. I feel like I'm like screaming at the camera. I'm just really passionate about this. And watching this really got my blood like flowing. I was red. I was pacing. I was sweating. I thought it was outrageous what's happening. And it was such an injustice. So, yeah, I'm really glad I'm getting the chance to
talk about
this and release all of my aggression.
And it's probably the only debate that we're going to be able to talk about as well.
Yes. Oh, yes, this is going to be the only, I'm assuming, because of the news that we heard today. Which we have to talk about too, because that is extremely sad, I think. Finding out that Trump and the First Lady both received COVID. Now they're going to the Walter Reed Hospital.
He is.
He is.
I don't know if she is. I don't think she is.
So this is what worries me about this. There are many leaders, actually, who have contracted the C word. Many leaders. Some have actually died in multiple countries. In Iran, many people died. I think there's I forgot what... was it Brunei? No, I forgot what country, but there's an African country where the president died of the C word as well. They're saying a heart attack, but right before he passed away, he contracted the Chivi. So the president is at an age that he's at a risk. So for me, that's something that I'm really, really worried about. I'm really, really scared. And what I'm worried about is that what's going to happen to Boris Johnson would happen to him, where when he contracted it, basically they came out and said, oh, just slight symptoms, not a big deal. Before you know it, he's going to, for regular checkups. And then, before you know it, he's in a coma, on his deathbed. And luckily, Boris came out of it alive and survived and came out stronger. And actually, he was extremely unpopular for his response for the Chivi in the UK. And after he came out and survived, he was so humbled by the experience that he took Chivi much more seriously, and his support started rising again around the UK. So my concern is that I really don't want this to happen to Trump, given his age group. This is something that really scares me. And so we'll see what happens. If you pray for him. We don't pray, but we'll send a lot of good vibes and good thoughts and whatever else.
It's too early to tell. We don't know, and all we can do is just just wait.
Just wait and hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait and hope. But that definitely puts, the debates at question.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I think is extremely sad, as well. One of the ways that Trump does his get out the vote is through rallies.
Yeah.
He's all about rallies, and so now
He's all about connecting with the people. I think that really rejuvenates him, gets him going, motivates him a lot, and he won't be able to do that now.
So he had to cancel today's rally.
Yeah.
He had a couple other ones scheduled, and he's going to have to cancel those. So I don't know how that's going to affect him, because I know a lot of people show up and then they decide to vote on the spot at these rallies. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm again really hoping.
Yeah, and then we have Pence. He and his wife also took the test, and they tested negative. So that's also good to know.
Tube Trans, are you being a conspiracy theorist? Yes, you're being a conspiracy theorist, but we also know that a lot of conspiracy theories turned out to be true years later. So who knows? Maybe 50 years from now, we'll be sitting here going like, Tube Trans was right. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this so that 50 years from now I can go back and look at it. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We don't know. Only time will tell, and that's the only thing that we can do.
Yeah.
Is just wait, send them good vibes, prayers, and yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that Biden said during the debate was
Tube Trans, I was and kind of still am from time to time where you are. I don't trust anything anymore. That's really. I relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it's important to do your own research and not depend on mainstream media and other people telling you information. Do your own research, finding out your own resources. That will really really help.
And Jenny, I agree. Seeing the negativity around him catching this and hoping that he dies is very disconcerting. Because I think if the shoe was on the other side, I think a lot of conservatives would actually pray for him and wish Obama the best. And I think if Biden was on the other side, the same. I think a lot of people would pray for him and wish him the best. So I'm really concerned about the tone of the country coming from the left predominantly. And Lynn, I hope you're right. I hope it is precautionary. I definitely hope so. So we'll see. But yeah. A couple of other points. I just really want to point this out because this drove me mad, right? Biden said that manufacturing went down under Trump. That's not true. It only went down if you calculate, post GV. But that's not true, right? Because up until December 19th, manufacturing was up. So again, it's just manipulating statistics because of a pandemic that has literally affected the entire world. Globally, manufacturing went down everywhere. I don't think there's one country in the world when manufacturing is up, including China, including Vietnam, including Cambodia, literally. So it's just such an unfair characteristic to say, but not surprising. Okay, a couple of other things, and then but there's still a lot to talk about the debate, but I wanted to talk about the line aspect of it. There's just so much to talk about. A lot of people had an issue with Trump asking about Hunter, and I saw a lot of people actually praising Biden for the way that he answered.
Yeah, I thought that was very fascinating.
My son dealt with drugs and blah, 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 blah. You know what's crazy? This is, I think, we saw a post about white privilege.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
do you remember it? Do you want to say it?
Something along the lines of, this is the epitome of white privilege, of being in politics for 47 years, and, go ahead.
Oh, being in politics 47 years, putting people in prison, discriminating between blacks and whites in terms of their drug use, three strikes law, and then keeping people in prison for drug offenses, giving people life sentences, and then when your own child gets gets into trouble, you get the charges dismissed.
Yeah,
that is the epitome.
That is the epitome
of white privilege.
Yeah.
So all of the people that Biden put in prison, Trump actually is releasing them one by one.
Yeah.
So again, this is just outrageous to say, and I thought it was extremely fair for Trump to attack Biden with Hunter's connections, because literally up until he started making all of this money when his dad was in the Oval Office. Right before he was making all this money, he was literally, a drug addict nobody. And again, great that he's no longer a drug addict. I think it's wonderful. But, like, what happened? How do you get these, like, incredible jobs with no experience, get paid all this money? And do you guys remember the conversation that Trump Jr. had with a Russian woman at a hotel room? Do you guys remember the huge deal?
Yeah.
Russia collusion, Russia collusion, Russia collusion. How is it that Biden is getting literally the son of Biden, the son of Trump, literally the same? One had a meeting in a hotel that resulted in absolutely nothing. The other one got $3.5 million from the wife of a Moscow mayor that Biden denies. And it's out there. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know why that wasn't pushed harder.
Yeah.
Why is it okay for Biden to lie about this and no one's asking questions?
Yeah.
But it's okay for his son to get $3.5 million. It's not okay to have a meeting. I mean, it's just, the double standard is so infuriating.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. Ed has a question for us.
Oh, Ed, yes. I have watched dozens of videos of Biden while running for president, and I think he was too up for the debate. Do you think that? Yes, actually.
That was actually something that we both were like. It just we don't know what it is, but something just felt off. He was on. He was really, really on.
So
it was not normal.
We have a family member who is a nurse, a registered nurse with a master's degree, has been doing it for many, many years. And she told us multiple things. She said, number one, Biden was Botoxed up like it's nobody's business. Lots of Botox to make him look younger. The other thing is there are drugs that shoot up your adrenaline and make you sharper. And she said that he was literally pumped with all of those drugs. And what they do is they give you a very short-term burst of energy and awareness, clarity, where your mind becomes clear. And it's very short-term. It lasts for 2 to 3 hours, and then it goes away. And so it was very clear.
And that's why Trump wanted to do a drug test.
And that's why, yes, and I think that's the other thing, right? When Trump said, let's do a drug test. Because I think we have a right to know, right? Is Biden going to rely on these drugs if he's taking them? And if he doesn't, then just do the drug test. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Right? Just show how ridiculous Orange Man is for asking you to do this drug test, have it come out negative and be like, see, I told you so.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to do it. And there's a reason why. Because I actually agree with you so much, Ed. He was so propped up on so many different things. And I think if you watch him from previous debates, it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's really obvious. He doesn't have the ability to speak the way that he spoke naturally. And that's why he doesn't do interviews on a regular basis, unless he's reading from a teleprompter. Because you can't take these drugs on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. They will give him a heart attack. Yeah. So, taking them once every few weeks for a debate, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But that's the problem here. And all of these things, we don't know who the Supreme Court is. We don't know what his, mental state is. We don't know what his health state is. We don't know if he's going to pack the cords. There's so many unknowns.
He wanted to take a break every 30 minutes.
Yeah, he wanted to take a break every 30 minutes, which is probably a reason why he seemed so much more tired in the last, 45 minutes of the debate or so. And, it's probably why he was propped up on so many drugs all at once. I think if they took breaks every 30 minutes, he'd probably get, a little dialysis something and,
a couple shots,
a couple of shots, and he's good to go. So, yeah, I think it's just, it's really outrageous.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think that one thing that really, really, really just riled me up, I mean, it just pissed me off, was when Biden said that America is weaker under Trump. I thought that was outrageous. Again, China hacking the China hacking the Pentagon's computer system, that's not American weakness, right? Russia doing whatever it wants in the Middle East, and literally stealing territories from neighboring countries during Obama's watch, nothing. All of these things that are happening, China has been planning a takeover of the China Sea for a long, long time. It started under the Obama administration, and now that Trump is actually pushing against China, we're seeing all these, potential Cold War happening. But it's necessary. Because Obama, we're going to lead from behind is basically we're not going to lead and we're just going to, lay back and be weak. And that's why the atrocities that happened in Syria were allowed to happen. That's why, Libya and Benghazi was allowed to happen. I mean, it's just so outrageous on so many levels. Do you guys remember when Trump proposed the so-called Muslim ban? That was not a Muslim ban because it included countries that were not Muslim, such as North Korea, but they called him Islamophobic. They said, how are people going to work with the U.S.? How are we supposed to, push forward American interests abroad if Muslim countries view us as Islamophobic racists? Well, how we work with the U.S. and the results of this, so-called ban and how people got affected by it includes 2 peace treaties in the Middle East. American strength also helped secure a peace treaty between Kosovo and Serbia in Europe. The list just goes on and on and on. There's a revolution in Venezuela of people wanting to be more American. People are holding American flags in Hong Kong saying, thank you, Trump, thank you, Trump. People are doing the same in Venezuela. People are angry. And I think part of the reason why Biden is losing Florida, according to a lot of polls, or why he's having difficulty with the Hispanic community in Florida, because actually a lot of polls do show him ahead, is because of their Cuba policy of literally appeasing a dictator for nothing.
Yeah.
Literally for nothing. Where, Trump is actually pushing against dictators. So to call Trump a dictator, saying that, oh, of course, Trump's best friends are dictators, it wasn't Trump that was in cahoots with Castro.
Yeah.
It was the Biden-Obama administration.
Yeah.
So I think, that just really, really bothered me. And, I think a weak America does not get its NATO allies to share in the, to pay more of their share for being members of NATO. So far, America has been so badly taken advantage of, and that is weak America. It's being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Weak America is having these ridiculous trade deals that were signed years and years ago that completely took advantage of American workers, and Trump was able to renegotiate them with obstacles given to him by Democrats in Congress, in the Senate, out in the field, and obstacles provided him by other countries, other nations, other world leaders who love America weak. And Trump pushed through all of them and really showed what America it is. And benefit, of course. So, the idea that America is somehow weaker under Trump is a joke. We're probably the strongest we've been since the Second World War. I just, So that just really infuriated me as well.
Ed brought up a point of that Trump, he put the same ban on the same countries that Obama used.
Right. Oh, yeah, he did. And I think that, this is the double
Ed,
standard.
to your comment.
Oh, Ed, yes. You recall the countries President Trump put in that ban were the same countries Obama used. Correct, but I think Trump's ban was wider. It went further out, whereas Obama's, I think, I don't remember which countries it was. It was like a couple specific countries, whereas Trump banned, I think, 9 countries altogether. So, but you're right. It was okay when Obama did it, and no one called him an Islamophobe. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I think that's kind of the outrageous aspect of all of this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
one of the things that I thought was very interesting that Biden kept saying that he's a dog whistle was one of the things that he kept saying that Trump is a dog. Everything he's doing is a dog whistle for activating his base, which I think is very interesting because I feel like that was a projection there. I feel like a lot of
that was such a projection.
A lot of the things the left are doing, a lot of the what the media is doing is they're doing a dog whistle. So I found that very interesting. And another thing he kept saying is it's a battle for the soul of the country.
Oh my God!
That was
just. That really is outrageous. Outrageous. The soul of the country. So let me see. If Trump is the president, that's a bad soul. If Biden is president, that's a good soul.
It's just it's this
Can
whole.
You guys see this?
It's this whole morality thing of the good side, we're the pure side, we're the moral side versus the bad side,
so
the evil side.
The moral side, Uncle Joe, the uncle with a soul, right? Who doesn't lie except when it comes to women. Right, because all of the people who said we can't confirm Kavanaugh because of treatment to, Christine Blasey Ford, all the people that said that Trump cannot be president because of the women that accuse him of, horrific acts, are now completely fine with Obama having the same accusations, except the only difference with Biden is that those stories are actually corroborated. Go figure. Those stories are corroborated, but they don't matter. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about everything else. Meanwhile, he lies about, his treatment of women. He lied about his education, about, his speeches. As we know, he actually had to step down because he's literally stealing other people's speeches and life stories. I mean, come on. Like, all of this is out there, but no one's asking him questions about this. He lied about how he met Jill. He lied about his dealings with China, about his son's dealings with China. They lied about Ukraine. They lied about Russia. Remember, Russia's going to collect all of the chemical weapons. Never happened. They lied about healthcare, right? You can keep your doctor if you want to. That turned out not to be true. Your premiums will not go up. They will go down. That turned out to not be true. The service you'll get is going to be better. That turned out to not be true. All of these things, right, that he's just, constantly lying about, and somehow it's completely okay. That is what is driving me so mad. And the idea that they created more jobs than Trump did, again, we talked about that as well. And I think I talked about, people out of work and in work. So just for the sake of statistics, right, in the fourth quarter of 2019, 74.2% of new workers were outside of the job market. Those are people who are not even counted as unemployed. Literally, people who haven't worked for years. 74.2% were outside of the job market. These are people that, are not even counted. And they're now joining the fold and actually working. During Biden's time in office, the labor force participation actually dropped. The rate dropped from 65.7 to 62.8. Yeah. So even though they can say that they, got more jobs, more people lost jobs. Less people worked. Yeah. Literally less people worked than they did before. So it's outrageous. And think about it. When Obama joined the office, you had a labor force rate participation of 65.7. Right? That was during the recession. That was during the worst of the recession. 65.7 when they left office, when the economy was, smooth sailing, as they call it, the Obama economy that made everything great for Trump, and that's why Trump is enjoying this economy. Labor force participation was 62.8, 3 points lower. That's millions of people. 3 points lower. Literally millions of people. Lie.
Yeah.
So, the idea that somehow the Obama-Biden economy was better than Trump-Pence is just a joke. It really is. What is it?
Sarah, your comment, that's very interesting. I don't know what that is. Mojo contacts?
Oh, interesting. Okay. We'll look into it. Yeah, and KTG, I totally agree. When Biden talks about the broken system, like the one he's built, right? The one he's been around for 47 years.
47 years. I just, honestly, I just can't get over that. I mean, how could somebody come in after already being in politics for 47 years and be like, you know what? Now I've decided I'm going to fix everything.
Yeah. How dare you talk about systemic racism when you're part of the system?
You
are the systemic. How are you? How dare you talk about this?
I mean, what is it? Is it 243 years, America?
Right.
So I think it's the way Biden has been in politics for 20% of America history.
20% of American history, Biden has been in business.
20%. I mean, that's crazy.
Outrageous. And then he's going to talk about systemic racism. You're part of the problem.
And
so is Camilla, by the way. She's literally one of the, completely enacted, pushed, supported, the three strikes law. I mean, how is she going to fix systemic racism when she caused it?
Yeah.
It laughed at the idea that her black brothers and sisters were sitting in jail over stupid drug charges when other white people who had similar drug charges got off. Yeah. She shrugged it off, thinks it's hilarious. So it's outrageous. Yeah. Absolutely outrageous. And we talked about the labor market. So the tight labor market is the first time, up until the big C word, right? Up until Chivi, the tight labor market under Trump was the first time that we had more jobs than unemployed people. During the Obama administration, when he left office, when Biden left office, there were 1.5 million more people looking for jobs than there were jobs available. Under Obama, for the first time in history, continuing with our broken records theme, for the first time in history, more jobs than there are actual people available to fill those jobs. Yeah. That's how good the economy was doing. Yeah. So who do I trust to rebuild the economy after all of this is over? Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Right? Do you guys remember when they talked about Benghazi and how it's because of a YouTube video, not because it was a terrorist organization that killed one of our ambassadors, right? And because Obama called it Obama called it a horrific act or something like that. Somehow, they're okay with it being a terrorist act. It's a joke. It's just a joke, and there's just so much more, right? Do you guys remember Edward Snowden when he came out and he said that the American government is spying on you? Obama and Biden said no, they're not. That was a lie. Now we know that they did. So when he's talking about Trump as this big great liar, I think the Obama-Biden administration is probably the worst liar of any other administration we've ever had. Minus maybe Watergate, maybe Nixon, maybe the second worst. I don't know, possibly the worst. Because I feel like Obama had quite a few Watergates. They were just all swept under the rug and no one really talked about them. Yeah. So, and by the way, I don't know if you guys remember, but they lied in order to bomb Libya. Remember when Obama bombed the hell out of Libya? Well, now as a result of the destabilization that happened in Libya, they now have a very thriving very thriving slave industry.
Lynn says we should take a drink.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. I think I need it. Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn.
You. Take a drink. So good and so fun. I needed that, Lynn. Thank you. I mean, you could tell I could really keep going and going forever. I'm not going to, because I think there's just so much to talk about that we've already talked about.
Can you move the drink over?
Yes. Perfect. Okay, we were, yes.
Bathroom break.
Talked about this. I'm just gonna skip because I literally talked about so much. By the way, with everything that happened, with the whole Benghazi, remember Fast and Furious as well? Remember Fast and Furious when an American Border Patrol officer was killed using American weapons that were handed out by the Obama administration? So they lied. They said that never happened, and then we found out that it did. And Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress, and 17 other 17 other people in the Justice Department were also charged. So again, it's just it keeps going and going and going and going.
Ed, I like your comment on we should all have big glasses when we meet up.
Oh, I love that. Yes. It'd be really fun,
actually. A cocktail hour.
I'd love to have like one of those like really large cocktail glasses. That would be really fun. Yeah. Okay, post-debate. So do you guys, this is kind of something that I thought was really interesting. Obviously, a lot of polls show that Biden is ahead, and they show that he's continuing and keeping his lead. And even post-debate, some polls show that he's ahead. But I did find one poll that I thought was really interesting. And it's by the Investors Business Daily. And after the debate, they found that Trump's poll numbers against Biden actually became better. So whereas before, Biden was leading Trump by 8%, before the debate, 49.5 to 49.5 to 43.9. That was what he was leading in early September. So now it went from that to 48.6 to 45.9. So basically Biden has a 2.6 lead over Trump. That from a 6-point lead that he had before. So it's actually kind of interesting that after the debate, Trump actually closed the gap a little bit, which I think is great. And it's also within the margin of error, which is 3.5%, which also, again, is great. 1.5% said they're voting for someone else, and 4% were unsure. So that's good. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting too was that out of the voters who said they know who they're voting for, when they asked committed voters, i.e., are you highly likely to vote for this person, or are you sure or almost sure that you're going to vote for this person, Trump had a much higher numbers of people who said there's certain Trump had a much higher number of people who said they're committed to voting for him. They're committed to showing up to the polls. So when they asked people, how likely are you to show up to the polls and vote, I think Trump's numbers were like 78%, whereas Joe Biden's were 62 or 64%. But on the other hand, regarding, are you likely to change your vote, more likely to change your vote, the numbers were reversed, and some people said, people who said that they're very likely to vote Biden or somewhat likely was higher than people who said they're very likely or somewhat likely to vote for Trump. More Trump voters are willing to possibly switch to the other side. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's not looking good at the moment, but it also didn't look good back in 2016. And so I think it would be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen. And of course, I think that the whole idea with, a polling by mail, voting by mail is really going to change things. And I think the other thing that I'm finding bothersome is that back in 2016, older voters, 65 and older, were actually more likely to vote for Trump than to Hillary Clinton by like double digits. And now that flipped. Older voters are actually more likely to vote for Biden than Trump because of the, chibi, the big C word that is happening. And so, and those are the voters that usually show up the most. So that's obviously very, very concerning. But on the other hand, again, his numbers are up with black voters, Hispanic voters, and also Trump is leading with voters, I think 25 to 45, and he's also leading with voters 45 to 64, whereas Biden is leading with voters 18 to 25, who are the least likely to vote, and also with voters 65 and older, who are the most likely to vote. So ultimately, it's going to be a question of a ground game, which I think Republicans did a really great job with that, but the Democrats did not focus on ground game because they focused all of their efforts on voting by mail. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Did you say her name?
Is it Michelle Simoneau? Simoneau. Oh,
Hi.
Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Thank you for joining us.
Vous êtes française? Are you French? Just by your last name. I don't know. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Ed, I agree. When Hillary ran, people did vote for Trump on purpose because of their distaste for her. And, I don't know. I don't think that people have a distaste for Biden. His favorability ratings are much higher than Trump. I think before Hillary Clinton's favorability ratings were on par or lower, or maybe slightly higher than Trump's. Biden's favorability ratings are through the roof, through the charts, and Trump has a really big problem with that. So I think what's happening now is that before people voted against Hillary, they either stayed home or they voted against Hillary, and that was a very powerful motivation for people to vote. And therefore they voted Trump. They held their nose up a lot of times, but they voted for him. Obviously, he also had a lot of supporters.
Yeah.
I think what's happening now.
Well, it's anything but the orange man now.
Yeah, exactly. And now the largest and biggest motivation is, let's get this orange man out of office.
Yeah.
They
really don't care who it is.
They don't care. It doesn't matter who it is.
They don't care
it
what
could
he's
be a
done.
puppet.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a puppet.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Fighting for the soul of the country.
Yeah. So there you go. These are there. 19% are somewhat likely to change their mind of Trump voters, whereas 13% of 13% of Biden voters are likely to change their mind. So I thought that was kind of interesting in this poll. Yeah.
Just like that.
All right, you guys. Wow, that was
That was
That was
a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah. We would love to know what you guys think about all of this, especially with the new news today. With Trump and everything. If you think that's going to affect voting, or if that will have any impact on the outcome.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When people ask me what I think, I say, my gut tells me that he's going to win. My logic tells me he's not, just looking at all the polls.
Yeah.
Having said that, my gut told me he's going to win in 2016, and I truly believe that. And even though logic, showed me otherwise, I really argued with a lot of people on, Facebook and other, places that he would pull it off. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off this time. I really, really don't know. I think before this, before the situation that we're in now, before Chivi, I think this would have been.
I love that. Chivi.
I know Chivi is like our new word.
There you go. From now on, Chivi.
Chivi. Before Chivi, I think it would have been a shoo-in. I don't think it would have mattered who it was from the Democratic side. He would have won. But I think now it's a real big problem, for many, many, many reasons. So I think it's a ground game. I think it's up to us to get out the vote. We're doing everything we can to get out the vote. And we hope that you guys are doing the same.
Yeah.
And if anyone's watching us that doesn't agree with us politically, please speak up. Yeah. We don't agree politically, but we really invite all kinds of voices.
Yeah.
And, we'll see. I think, either before or after the election, I think it'd be really fun to interview different people. Mm-hmm. So, we have a couple of interviews lined up.
Yeah.
With people from abroad, and we want to ask them what they think about the situation happening here from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
We also have quite a few people who are very, very strongly involved in politics, but on the complete other side of ours. And it'd be fascinating to see what they think and what they have to say regarding all of this.
Because ultimately what's going to happen is no matter who wins, one side is going to be upset. And that is going to create even more tension yet again. And it's
Thank you, Cher. She said we're like good medicine.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So you
Cher.
guys are like medicine to us.
Very, very much so. Thank you. I don't know what I was saying, but I think that, basically I think what it is everybody has created their own bubble. We live in our own bubble. We live in our own reality. And so whatever you want to tap into, whatever source that you want to tap into, whatever news source or information or narrative that you want to build around, you can literally build your own reality and believe in that own reality. And I think, it's very, very important to tap into other people's realities and hear from their side so that we can recreate that dialogue that we used to have. We used to be able to talk about politics in a civil manner, and now we're not. And I think that's really important to be able to get back to that.
Yeah, actually, I just posted a thing on Facebook the other day where it said, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're a good person, let's not judge, people by who they vote for. It was a very, it was like a paragraph long thing, very beautifully written. I reposted it. And one of my friends actually wrote that, not when, not in this case, because, if someone votes Trump, then it really shows you what their values are. And it's just, again, there's such a double standard, and there's such a, this moral high ground superiority.
Actually, I think you should read it. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
It's really good, you guys.
Yeah, he got it up. She got it up. Okay. So some of the most incredible people I know voted for Donald Trump, and some of the most incredible people I know voted for Hillary Clinton. The people that I know that voted for Trump are not racist, misogynistic, or hateful. And the people that voted for Hillary Clinton are not hateful and intolerable. If you are someone who woke up this morning and is going to start seeing people as who they voted for, and not as the person you have always known them to be, then you are what is wrong with America. I will never think any less of any person who has different views than me, because some of the most beautiful, inspirational people I know will disagree with what I believe all day long. But at the end of the day, they are still that beautiful, inspirational person I've always known them as. Don't think less of people because some of their beliefs don't align with yours, and don't lose quality people in your life because you choose hate over love. And I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful message. And what I was responded with was, a person is not who they voted for, but it shows the person's core values, which is way worse in my opinion. And I thought it was just like so sad. It's like such a beautifully written statement, and then such a sad thing to say, because again, we just went through 2 hours where we discussed all of Biden's, immoralities. And, it'd be crazy because this is a person who I literally argued with on Facebook regarding the not confirmation, who should told me if someone is accused of, taking advantage of women's body, they should never have the right for office. and all of a sudden she's a huge supporter of this person who was accused of that very thing and actually has corroborated, people who corroborated the story, and there's actual, paper trail of police reports regarding this incident. So, and she's voting for this person. So, again, I'm going to try not to judge her, but, this is where we are. So I think our job as, if you guys are Trump supporters, I think most of the people watching us today are, if you guys are Trump supporters, our job is not to judge the other side. Our job is to try to convince them that we are the correct side. We are the right side, no pun intended. And that's why we're doing all of our podcasts.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing these lives. These lives are fun. The podcasts, it's to show people just that.
Yeah, because we're not coming to this with emotions and feelings. We're coming to this with logic and information. We do the research, we do the information, we find out, what he's actually done, and like we say over and over again, actions speak louder than rhetoric, than words, because words, as we know with the media, can be manipulated constantly all the time. It's the facts, the actions, and really, ultimately, what it comes down to at the end of the day, Trump has been in office for almost 4 years. Biden has been in politics for 47 years. What have they done? Look at their action. Look at what they've done, and it's just really sad, to see that it's like Biden's like, oh, now I decided that I'm going to fix everything.
Yeah, now after 47 years, I'm gonna fix everything.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Well, you guys, we are so glad you joined us, and we really look forward to these live YouTube lives every week. We are going to be going live, like we said before. We're going live every Friday at 3 p.m. up until the election, where we're going to talk about politics. So, yeah.
Yes, this is going to be a very, very exciting time. I can't wait to talk to you guys. This whole month that we have left, but also, see what the mood of the country is and what our mood is like after the election.
Yeah.
If we're even going to have a mood, if we'll know any results one way or another. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see.
Definitely.
But,
and also, too, of course, we come out with our podcasts on Wednesdays. We're trying to come out with them every Wednesday.
We try to do Mondays. Unfortunately, it took us way too long to upload.
Yeah.
And then it took days. And some of you guys have actually offered help with technical help and uploading.
Yes, please. The people who reach out to us, tell us what to do. Email us.
Please.
Would be the best, and let us know resources of how we can. I think that the last one took over 48 hours.
Yeah, over 48 hours to load it. So that's why we moved from Monday to Wednesday, because we try not to do anything on Shabbat. So this gives us a few extra days. And so any help is hugely appreciated. And just the fact that so many people are willing to help and reached out and say, if you need technical tech help, let us know. I mean, it really, really means a lot. And, please reach out to us and tell us what we could do. And for all the people that offered help, we'll reach out to you as well, probably a little bit after the election, once things come down a little bit, and we'll actually have time to absorb all the information and, that you give us and some order with all of this.
And Shabbat Shalom. And if you guys are celebrating the holiday today, happy Sukkot.
Oh, Eric Julian Walker, thank you so much. I love that you think our analysis is fascinating. And regarding the resources, sources on the info on our videos, or at least the main ones, we provide all of the sources in every single one of our podcasts, links to everything. So if you go to any of our podcasts, the links are not in the description.
They're in the pinned comment at the very top of the comment section.
Yes.
Yeah.
So feel free to go and look. And then, of course, if there's anything that I've said that you can't find the link or source to, just, again, write us a comment or an email asking what it is, and we'll respond and we'll get it.
Yeah.
Because most of what I talked about now, most of what I talked about now is actually sources that we've provided before in our podcasts, or will provide in future podcasts as well. So you should be able to find all of it. But if you don't, just let us know and we'll send it to you, and let us know specifically what sources you're looking for. we'll send them to you. Most of them are from the Department of Labor, Department of Justice. Most of them are official sources. The only thing that we do try to do, just to make it more engaging and interesting, is a lot of the sources that we provide will be articles, for example. And we choose very specific articles from NPR, the Washington Post, New York Times, Washington Examiner, of course. We have some Fox News as well. But we try to make the links that we provide be more sources that are known to be more left-leaning and more credible within liberal sources, so that when you show these sources to your liberal friends,
so they don't say fake news.
Fake news. Oh, it came from Fox. Fake.
Yeah.
You saw this on YouTube. Fake.
Yeah.
We want this to be a source that they would actually trust. And a lot of times it's really difficult to find because a lot of what we're talking about is not published in the newspapers.
Yeah.
And it's usually published online, and it's usually buried within. But these institutions, they have to report on this because otherwise they would lose all legitimacy. So when they do 30 bad articles about Trump, they have to do at least one good one. And they could bury it, but they have to do at least one good one so that they could say, look, we are even-handed. We do criticize the left as well, and we also point out the positive. It's just extremely rare and very, very buried.
Yeah.
But we find it and we post it. So.
Okay, you guys. Well, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. We are gonna finish our drink, have some popcorn, and enjoy our Shabbat. We love you guys all.
Bye.
Bye.